Welcome back to The King of the Things by Adrian Beckingham. So, I've just finished reading chapter 4. I'm about to start reading chapter 5. And this is a way that we can all join together on adventures together. I'm really enjoying it. It's nice having feedback from you all. So, the important question for me to ask at this point is, are you sitting comfortably? What was that?
Yes.
Then I'll begin. The Wooden Eye. Walking as silently as he could, Hunch stumbled on as the shadows leapt from the unwelcoming trunks of the trees. Roots and burrs and thorny vines reached out and snagged him. He soon ripped holes in his best trousers and tore his fine shirt, but he didn't mind. He was thankful for those sturdy polished boots he had worn for the feast. The feast! He had forgotten all about it in his forlorn fear. The memory brought back a sad sigh to his lips. It seemed so far away now, even though he knew he could run back there soon enough, if only he could remember the way. How long had he been running before he stopped? And where had he found the energy? Maybe he should just make as much noise as he could, and either someone might come and save him, or some nasty critter of the forest would come and finish him off. But he did not fancy being someone's meal, and so he kept walking along as silently as he could. Twigs creaked and snapped, making him flinch. This was dangerous. He was making too much noise. After a while, as he wandered aimlessly along, he stopped worrying about the racket he was making. There was no way of stopping. The bracken was crisp on the forest floor. Silver shafts of soft moonlight struggled through the twisted branches above. There is a full moon up there, Hunch thought to himself. I wish I was out in the open. The coldness of the trees both comforted and disturbed him. They kept him hidden from the horrible things that everyone said lurked in the forest, but the trees also gave them somewhere to hide and spy on him, ready to pounce. All of a sudden, Hunch saw it. One of the trees had a huge round wooden eye, the size of his fist, and it was staring straight at him. Hunch shivered with fright and stood stock still, eyeballing the eye that was eyeballing him. I think we've got some pictures of eyes and trees here. He tried hard not to blink, but the more he thought of not blinking, the more he wanted to. And then he did. When his eyes flashed open again, the wooden eye was gone, and instead there was just a twisted, gnarly hole in the tree. Hunch stayed still and staring, wondering if it had been some trick of the moonlight through the shadows. Sighing, he wandered along, right past the very spot where the tree had been staring at him. Stumbling along in no particular direction, he came to a big outcrop of boulders, which sat at the bottom of a steep stone cliff. Scraggly trees poked their frail limbs out from cracks in the rocky wall, and suddenly Hunch had an idea. Maybe if he climbed this cliff, he would find himself on high ground and see past the edge of the forest. Maybe he would be lucky enough to see which way to walk to get home. Him lucky? When? Exactly. Luck was not his friend, and never had been. Good luck was for people like Tax. The thought of the name made the hunchback scowl, and for a moment all the pain of all the years that Tax had spent taunting and mocking him flooded back. In that moment, Hunch just wanted to give up on life, right there and then, to lie back and let the forest shadows and the unimaginable things that lived there do their worst to him. But Hunch had not been through so much torment all those years of feeling alone and unwanted and ugly, to give up on himself now. He hated his hump and what it did to him, but somewhere out there he had his parents and his best friend Quiz, and her whole dray of squirrels, and the river's lovely song, and the young forest of sapling trees he had planted. All these things he loved. He did have goodness in his life. If he thought about it, things that made his life worth living, it was as if in that moment he could hear them cheering him on, even though the woods were silent. Hunch grabbed one of the twisted trees whose thin trunks were creeping from the steep stone wall of the cliff and used his strength to pull himself up. The trees and the shards of cracked stone they grew from formed a kind of staircase, not the sort of stairs you can walk up, whistling without a care in the world. The natural staircase was all pitted and twisted and topsy-turvy and grew in a thin and ragged line up the course of the steep cliff wall. But none the less, Hunch found that with courage and with care he could begin to climb it. After what seemed like hours of pulling himself up past creaking branches and mossy outcrops of jutting stone, sheer exhaustion ground him to a halt. He was sweating and his arms and shoulders felt raw. This climb was testing a will he never thought he had. His fingers felt as if he could not grasp another branch. He sat there on a steep fist of jutting stone, with his arms draped over a small tree that was the next step in his staircase to the sky. He had to give up. It was too much. He sat there for a moment as droplets of sweat rolled off him and dripped down to the forest floor. Would any nasty thing see it shine as it fell in the moonlight, or smell him? Humans must smell like food to the things living here, he thought. What happens if I give up now? The idea of climbing back down into the dark heart of the forest made him twitch. A bundle of nerves, Hunch looked out and saw that his climb had brought him level with the highest branches of the tallest trees. The mighty trees thrust themselves up from the forest floor to drink as much sunlight as they could by day, and swim in the silver moonlight by night. But he had reached as high as they could, and there above him, above the uppermost ragged lip of the cliff, was the gorgeous round moon, washing the world in her healing silver light. Hunch took a deep breath, and using more strength than he believed he had, he continued his upward climb. Like some sort of insect, he crawled from branch to branch, and from rocky foothold to rocky foothold. Slowly, ever so slowly, he crept upwards towards the top of his world. And when he reached the place where the cliff suddenly gave up, Hunch carried on. With a last grasp of effort, he dragged himself over the stone lip and onto the flat, solid ground. He lay there, on his curved back like an upturned beetle, and panted deeply. To his surprise, he realized it had never felt so good to be alive. Here, in the untamed forest, he had accomplished something he had never thought possible. Never in his wildest dreams. He had fought against his own fears and physical exhaustion to climb that cliff in the shadowy light. Now here he was at the cliff's top. He lay there a long moment, contented and happy. For a moment he forgot all his fear. For a moment he forgot aching limbs. For a moment he forgot his loneliness. For a moment he forgot his doubt and self-loathing. For a moment he forgot his lump. He forgot he was one tiny person in the middle of a terrible place, a forest of legendary horrors, inhabited by things so dreadful that nobody could bring themselves to describe them. But he would soon remember, very soon indeed. And once he did, that young lad lying there, gazing at the happy stars, in a moment of sweet memory that would stay with him forever. I assure you that once he discovered what truly lay within the wild forest, his life would end as he knew it, and he would never be the same again. Doo, doo, doo. That's the end of chapter 5. I'm going to stop there and read you chapter 6 very soon. Hope you're enjoying it. Loads of love to you all. Hope you're doing well. Look after yourselves.